food of our Christmas cookie series. This time we're gonna do some meringues. Ever since I made the frosted sugar cookies with the royal icing, I've been really wanting to do meringue cookies. I've been really wanting to eat meringue cookies, so we're gonna bake some. I've done them once before, and I think that was when we lived in Oregon, so that was like 2013, so it's been a while. That time I used real egg whites from real eggs and threw all the yolks away. I think I actually put them in the freezer thinking I was gonna use them for something and then never used them, and they were pretty gross. So this time I'm gonna use that meringue powder that I used for the royal icing. I'm pretty excited to try it out and see if it works, how it works, what makes things different. Not very experienced with powdered egg whites, so we're learning. Again, like always. So this recipe starts off with saying to preheat your oven to 225 degrees, which seems very wrong, right? But it's right, because we're basically just drying out the egg white. It's not even, I mean, I know they're already dehydrated, but we're gonna rehydrate them with water. We're basically dehydrating egg whites and sugar into little meringue cookies. It's not really baking them or cooking them like a cake or a regular cookie is, so it's a little different process. My oven is preheated already, and then we need to line cookie sheets with parchment paper, but I'm just gonna use my silicone mats. I don't know if it's gonna work or if it needs like the parchment to absorb moisture. I'm not really sure, but we're gonna try it out, see how that goes. I don't think I had those last time I made these, so they're gonna be different from that time. And that time they didn't turn out very good because I don't think I had them in the oven long enough. They were kind of mushy. I'm assuming these are gonna turn out mediocre at best also, just like everything else I've made so far, but we're gonna go for it anyway. It does say to make sure your baking sheets fit in the oven together, side by side. Mine do not, but that's okay. I'm just gonna roll with it. We're gonna rotate as many times as we need to. It's fine. Well, you're gonna see firsthand whether that works or not, so learn from my mistake. We need to combine the egg whites, cream of tartar, and salt in a large, completely clean, completely grease-free bowl. I think my bowl is grease-free. I don't know, I just got it off the counter, so it's dust-free. I dusted it out. Hopefully that's good enough. So for these powdered egg white meringue powder stuff, it says we need 2 teaspoons of meringue powder to 2 tablespoons of water in order to make 1 egg white. So I measured out 8 teaspoons of meringue powder right here, and 8 tablespoons of water, which is equal to a half a cup of water there. So I'm gonna add both of those to my bowl. I'm not sure if I should mix those up together first or not. I'm just gonna leave it like that. Cream of tartar, which is a half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. I don't really know what cream of tartar is, but I assume that it's necessary because like every meringue recipe calls for cream of tartar. 1/8 teaspoon of salt, and then using an electric mixer or a stand mixer with either the whisk or the paddle attachment. I'm just gonna use the whisk because I know that we're beating these until they're really fluffy, so I feel like the whisk usually does a little bit better doing that, so we're gonna use the whisk. Stir on low until it becomes foamy. I'm just gonna mix that meringue powder in because it's all stuck to the sides of the bowl. I'm gonna mix it into the water a little bit better, and then we'll start beating. Okay, it's not perfectly mixed, but it's all wet at least. Okay, it got foamy pretty quickly, so the next step is to turn the mixer up to high and then add in the sugar. The recipe calls for 1 cup of sugar, and it says to add it in about 1 tablespoon at a time, so it's pretty slow. This is going to be a process to add in the sugar and beat it in and make it the fluffy meringue. So I'm going to grab a spoon and just pour it in 1 spoonful at a time. To see if the sugar has dissolved. So this, it says to beat until the mixture is thick, shiny, and has increased in volume. It is very thick. It has increased in volume. I have a little bit of a sheen to it. I don't know if I would consider it shiny or not. It should have stiff peaks, and the sugar should be completely dissolved. You can test it by rubbing a small bit of the mixture between your fingers, and if you feel anything that feels gritty, the sugar is not dissolved yet, so we're gonna do that. First, I'll test the peaks, and I would say that they are very stiff. What I've learned in the past for stiff peaks versus soft peaks fall over when you stand them up, and stiff ones don't. So that did not fall over at all. It is a stiff peak. Now we test to see if it's gritty. Put a little bit there. I do feel a little bit of grittiness, so I'm gonna let it go a little longer, and maybe that'll increase the shine on it too, and then we will test it again. I'm gonna scrape down the sides first though. Okay, I'm gonna test it one more time, see if it's gritty still. Still very stiff peaks. Oh, I don't feel anything. So I think that's good. Now we are at the step where we can add some flavoring. The recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, but it says you can put in any flavoring that you want to. And the sugar cookies tasted really, really good with the almond in there, so I'm gonna put almond in these. So I've got 1 teaspoon of almond extract. And then it also says if you wanted to add any color to your cookies, you can do that at this stage too. I'm gonna make them like a bluish green, like a really light pastel bluish green. I'm not a fan of using a lot of food coloring, but a little bit is always a little fun. Now it says to put the cookie dough, the mixture is what it calls it, in a large piping bag, and then use a large star tip to pipe cookies onto the baking sheet. I unfortunately do not have a large piping bag or a large tip, so I'm going to be using a Ziploc, like I'm sure you will probably do unless you are lucky enough to have a nice piping bag. I cannot find large piping bags anywhere, like not even the cheap ones. I found some on Amazon, but it's not immediate. I'm not gonna get them today, right now, so we're just gonna use a Ziploc. And I know it would be fun to use the star tip to make like these really pretty cookies, but it says that you could use, in the instructions it says that you can use a Ziploc and just cut the tip off and make it like a Hershey's Kiss shape. So it's just gonna be smooth rather than have all those ridges on it, which is fine. Now it's just about deciding on how big we want the tip to be. I'm probably gonna do like that big. So it's a fairly large size hole. I would say probably about the size of a quarter. So it's really ugly using the Ziploc because of the seams on the side. So it's kind of like I don't even know how to describe the shape that comes out of it, but it's not a perfectly round tube of stuff, so. Okay, so the recipe said that you can make them pretty close to each other because they don't spread at all. That's good to know. Wish I would have read that before I piped them because I ran out of room, but that means these ones will be fine. Over here I put 4 in a row rather than 3 in a row, so that's good to know. And then we need to put them in the 225-degree oven for 1 hour. And then it says when the hour is over, do not open the oven. Turn the oven off and leave them in there until they are completely cool, which takes 1 to 2 hours. And then they should be light and crisp and hopefully not squishy in the middle like last time. It does say to keep them away from heat and keep them away from moisture, otherwise it can soften them back up. I don't think they're recommended to go in the fridge. I'll probably just leave them at room temperature. It's pretty cold in here actually. We haven't turned our heater on yet, and we don't have our air conditioner on anymore because it's pretty cold out. But it's usually around 60 something in here, kind of like the high 60s. So hopefully that will keep them nice. So I'm gonna pop these in the oven for an hour, and then after they are cooled, I will show you what they look like. Hopefully they don't turn like golden brown like the last ones. They were like golden on the outside, but then they weren't done in the middle, so we'll see what happens. And then, as I said before, my cookie sheets don't fit side by side, so I'm gonna have to rotate them halfway through. So I set my timer for 30 minutes. I'm gonna rotate them. I have them staggered like whatever, they're like this right now, and I'm going to literally just swap their places because yes, I want to move this one up and this one down, but I also want like the outside edge of this one to then be on the inside edge, so I'm just gonna change their spots. Hopefully that works. We'll find out. I'll see you in 3 hours, or right now, whatever. All right, I've tried a couple, as you can see. I did the 1 hour and then I cooled them for 2 hours in the oven, waited till they were cool. And I tried them then and they were a little wet in the middle. The outside was done, but the center was a little moist still. So I preheated the oven again to the same temperature and put them in for 1 more hour. And then did the same thing, let them cool in the oven for another 2 hours, and they are perfect. They are all the way done, crispy in the middle. They taste so good. I love meringues. Make these because they're so good. I love them. I hope you enjoyed watching me make these meringues, and even though they're not that pretty, let me know if you decide to make them on your own, and give this video a thumbs up for me, give me a follow, give me a share, whatever. I appreciate it, and I will see you again next week. Thank you. Bye.